And welcome back to my channel. Unless you are new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And I'm still on the webcam mic until a few days. Maybe this stuff will be here. The USB strip to hook my mic back up to this computer. In any event, our third album just got on Spotify a couple days ago, so I'm trying to make some more videos during the break. And yeah, we are going to continue with The Beach House. I really loved this movie, and it's got an interesting personal connection. And how do you want to say it? If you've never, I'm a musician, right? I'm a songwriter and lyricist, and have been since I was 11. Stevie Nicks introduced me to a book by Robert Graves called The White Goddess, and it is a thesis on artistic music, film, music, author, poetry, stuff like that. And in this thesis, and I am a believer of it, he believes that music, art, and poetry is a force, a connective force, and that poets and authors and, artistic people are open conduits that this entity, this web of entity, uses to deliver poetry through, art through. And this has got a very interesting connection that kind of points to that. Now, I didn't really, this movie came out in 2019, right? I didn't know of its existence until about 6 months ago. I saw it, in the little stores that I shop in, online. I started recognizing the cover. I finally added it to my wish list about 6 months ago. I bought it like 3 months ago, and I was very stunned when I watched it. When I bought this, I had never seen a trailer or anything. So I actually thought I was buying the rental. I have the rental. I thought I was buying a movie like that. That's what I expected this to be, was the rental. I expected it to be some kind of slasher, cabin in the woods, except it's a cabin on the beach. So that's what I was expecting. And as I watched this movie, so first I'll tell you that about the movie. The movie is about Emily and Randall, a young college couple, who are going to his dad's beach house to hang out, to stay for a while and try to repair their relationship. When they get there, though, unbeknownst to them, because he did not tell his father, there's a slightly older couple, like 20 years older than them, Mitch and Jane, who are staying there, and they didn't even know it, So there was that little odd, like, oh my gosh, what are you doing in my house, is what Randall said, and found out who they were. Oh, we remember you when you was a little kid, stuff like that. And that's when they decide, well, they can hang out, together, and they were going to have a dinner that night and just kind of, enjoy each other's company. When you can tell that something is wrong with Jane, obviously you discover that she has some kind of terminal illness. So they run out of wine, and Randall ends up offering them edibles. They discuss it and they decide to do it, so they take these edibles. Now, you also kind of know that there's something going. whenever they use the water, they notice the water feels weird. Um, so, there's that. They're, of course, all stoned on edibles now. And they're hanging out outside. It's night. And they notice that the beach is kind of glowing and that it's up in the trees. And they've never seen anything like that before. And it kind of, they can't tell whether, the problem is they're stoned. So they don't realize that some of the weird feelings that they are having is something's going on because they're stoned, and they just blame it on that. So come the next morning, though, after they pretty much tripped all night, they start noticing that they still feel stoned, that they still feel weird, and things are getting more and more strange. Both of the people, Mitch and Jane, starts acting very strange. They themselves feel very strange. Things really start to heat up when Randall and Emily are laying out on the beach, and he gets a really bad cramp in his stomach, like you need to crap, like right now. So he runs inside, never comes back. Mitch then comes and talks with her, and then says, "Well, I think I'll go for a swim." And she could tell he's like acting weird. He walks out into the water, and she's like, "Dude, he's acting a little weird." And he just keeps walking until he basically disappears. So he walks on out until finally his head goes underwater. She freaks out. She runs inside. But before she can, she steps on a man of war, a Portuguese man of war. And it fucks up her foot. So there's like this body horror stuff going on. And she manages to get inside and takes this worm out of it, which is very squirm-inducing, right? And the movie really starts picking up. She's screaming for Randall, but he seems to be nowhere. She gets the worm out of her foot. She tapes it up. She hears noise. She goes upstairs to find him. He's like crawling around on the floor, doesn't know what happened to him. Jane gets after them. She's like crawling on the floor like a zombie with these white eyes. Shit's gone tits up in this movie, right? So you start realizing that the opening scene, which was a smoker, at the bottom of the ocean, it has released some kind of toxic microbe that is coming ashore both in the water and in the air in the form of a fog. They start, trying to get away from her. They're both getting sicker and sicker as they're transforming into something. They start trying to find help. They find that it's like the whole little beach town, everybody that's there. There's a lot of really interesting stuff where they see other people that are infected, basically. They're, of course, infected too. They just don't know it. He's worse off than she is because there ain't no telling what Jane did to him up there when he was unconscious. So they break into a house. They try to wall themselves off. They do see an emergency broadcast message on the TV. She finds a radio. It starts telling them about don't go in the water, don't let the fog touch you. There's these microbes and stuff like that. Well, he ends up turning, and she ends up like knocking him out with a fire extinguisher. Then because they're on the beach, a lot of people have diving equipment, right? So she gets that and puts on a diving mask and an oxygen tank to try to not breathe in the fog while she keeps trying to escape. She wrecks, gets out. She's totally being overtaken now by this infection. Manages to stumble out onto the beach where the movie ends with her laying there going, "Don't be afraid, don't be scared, don't be scared, don't be scared," right? While her eyes are that milky white, so she's turned. Then the waves wash across her and she melts and disappears into the water. you know. So it's an eco horror movie, is what it is, and that is certainly not what I expected. When you buy a movie thinking that it's going to be The Rental, like The Rental, and instead you end up with something like this. But I was absolutely mesmerized. I was mesmerized. She is such a good actress. Randall was a good actor, sorry. And Jane and Mitch, they are both fantastic. So you had four really good cast members. The acting was superb and all, and that gets us to the little weird thing that I was talking about. Um, we have a song called Virus, and that song was written May 5th, 2020 is when that song was written, when I wrote the lyrics for that song. Now, this song is a song about humans and how the earth let us rise and evolve and come down from the trees, and what did it get in return? We evolved into this big brain beacon of life that is violent, and we destroy the earth with our wars and our weapons, and you know, with our riots and our violence and stuff like that. And so that when you get further down in the song, that's when the earth, starts responding with floods and quakes, and decides that we aren't worth keeping around. And so in the end of the chorus, the last line of the chorus is, "We are the real violent virus the earth now washes clean. Just breathe the remedy." So as I'm watching this movie, it really freaks me out, right? Because I'm like, that is the song that I wrote, and it's like coming true on right in front of my eyes. Granted, in the song, I don't name exactly what it is, other than naming the song Virus and saying the earth now washes, we're the violent virus that the earth now washes clean with its own virus. Just breathe the remedy. So the earth, wipes out humans to protect itself, just like we cut out cancer to protect ourselves. So I was pretty freaked out, by that. I went to one of the AIs, and I told them I was discussing this movie because I wanted to know what they were turning into, right? And it kind of explained that, and I told it about my song, our song Virus, and it was like, that was weird, And when I told it, when I had wrote it, this movie came out in theaters July of 2020. I wrote that song in May of 2020. And I never heard of this movie, saw a trailer, or knew anything about it until 6 months ago. So you can see how that would freak me out a little bit. It was very eerie, especially if you're a believer in the White Goddess, about music and poetry. It's like the director of this movie received a transmission about this issue at the same time that I received a transmission. It used the writer of this movie and me as a conduit for this message about the earth wiping out humans to protect itself. And that's pretty weird. So it did add a really personal connection. If you went and looked up, my next project is to remaster that first album and take the old one down and all, but as of right now, it's still there. So if you was to go on my channel and look for Virus, it should come up. And if you read the lyrics to Virus, and if you've watched this movie, it's very creepy. It's very eerie that two different artists, the screenwriter of this movie and me, a songwriter, a lyricist, would write a song, and they write a screenplay about this very subject and they really are very closely related in that the earth, backfires on humans and wipes us out. And in this movie, the earth backfires on humans and wipes them out. And that was just really pretty interesting, and it created this sort of connection to this movie, which I'm sure you could understand that, if you had wrote a song and then you threw on a movie that you bought 3 months ago and didn't know about, and then to find out that it came out at the theaters July of 2020, and I wrote the song in May of 2020. So you're talking about 2 months there. You had 2 different artists on this planet writing about this subject, one in song form and one in a screen form for a film, and yet they're talking about the exact same thing. That really plays into the White Goddess book by Robert Graves. It's like we were 2 conduits that, for some reason, the White Goddess was sending out that particular warning, that particular message, and we were 2 conduits that picked it up. So I know that's all metaphysical shit, but hey, the facts are the facts, and it's kind of a weird coincidence if I do say so myself. You know what I mean? It's a weird coincidence if you do say yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of strange, but I really adored this movie. Very bleak ending. How are humans going to survive? I did ask the AI that. I'm like, well, what can humans do? And it's like, well, you're gonna have to go to as far away from the coast to the middle of any continent that you can, get as high as you can above sea level, and hope that you manage to stay alive until this thing works itself out and the biosphere resets with this new microbe that is incompatible with human life. And however it's going to change the Earth's ecosystem. How are we going to live through it? You're going to have a self-contained bunker where these microbes cannot get in. You're going to have to survive until it does whatever it's going to do, until it no longer has a human hosts, until the virus dies out or the microbes die out, or they change the biosphere into whatever they're going to change it. And I've heard that this is kind of similar theme to A Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage, which I do have that movie, but I've never sat down and watched it. Along with 400 other movies in my 3,300 movie collection that still need to be watched, and I just can't never find time to do it. So I love this movie, not just for that personal connection, but I really, really love this movie. I think it was a big surprise and a fantastic surprise, and I had a great deal of fun with it. And yeah, I think the acting was superb. Of course, Randall, yeah, crush, crush. But I felt very sorry for all of them. They didn't do anything wrong, but the Earth just has surprises for us, and it does make you think. You have to think, what are you going to do? When these oil drilling rigs or the fracking rigs or, them digging ice cores out of the Antarctic and stuff like that, what's going to happen when they fuck up and release something? You know what I mean? So it's definitely food for thought. And yeah, so if you have seen The Beach House, tell me what you thought about it. And I will be right back with another one. I really love this movie, and I wanted to give it a shout out. That's what my channel is about. I like to bring movies that I love to the forefront, give them some love, give them a shout out, and encourage you, if you haven't seen them, to give them a try. Yeah? So, that was The Beach House. I will see you in the next one. Love you, miss you. Bye-bye. Always remember, and never forget, you are a very, very special person. no matter what anybody says, they are incorrect if they do not agree with you that you are a very, very special person. And I will see you in the next thing that I do. Bye-bye.